Thank you, Cassandra, for being here. I'm going to get to an introduction for you in a couple of minutes. My name is Julia Anderson, and I am the interim CEO at the Canadian Partnership for Women and Children's Health, joining you from the land of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe people on settler maps known as Peterborough. Really excited to be here and to take much of the learning and the lessons that I've engaged from and with Indigenous people on and bring them to my comments and my words today. And I hope that what we say, Cassandra and myself, bring honor to those lessons and to that learning. We are coming to a close of Gender Equality Week, and it's hard to describe all that we've sort of engaged with and all of the activities. We've had Canadians from coast to coast and partners from across the globe talking to us about gender equality. We launched our gender equality training modules with Global Affairs Canada. We had workshops on measuring empowerment and proposal writing. We did deep dives. I came out of I have 6 pages of notes from a conversation we just had that was a deep dive on feminist programming, and Minister Gould joined us for that. And it was indeed a rich conversation that my comment was, I feel like we could have talked for days. We've talked about gender data and diversity, equity and inclusion in the workplace. We've really tried to cover the spectrum of how we look in, how we look out, and how we talk out. Well over 1,200 people have engaged with us on social media, and over 700 people have attended our sessions by Zoom or viewed them on Facebook and YouTube so far. And the wonderful thing about Zoom, because we're always looking on the bright side and these kind of conversations, is that we can continue to use the material and amplify and push out the messages, the key messages, well beyond Gender Equality Week, and keep racking up the people who are touched by the messages. So it's been a busy week, and I think I have personally been struck that we have a lot of international days celebrating things, and days are great. They're a great moment to reflect, but to have a full week to reflect and think forward and think back, I think is incredibly powerful. And I'm proud that in Canada, we take this time to reflect. So the week is supposed to be about looking at women and gender diverse communities. How have we grown? How have we developed? How does character and identity added to Canada through these diverse groups? It's to celebrate the achievements and accomplishments, but also to reconfirm and gather strength and commitment to address the persistent gender equality gaps in our country that still exist. And certainly throughout the week, I felt that real push and pull of the desire to smile and bring hope and celebrate, while at the same time, a real commitment and heavy task of noting where we are at and taking action and pushing action forward, because we're really not meeting basic expectations in this country and around the globe when it comes to gender inequality being persistent and not meeting those expectations for gender equality, and what richness we're missing because of those gaps that still exist. We know that COVID is not just a health issue, it's had profound social and economic consequences for women and girls. And while they continue to be the center of some response efforts, they're missing in decision-making processes often, and we've heard that throughout the narratives and stories this week. Quoting the legendary, as has been quoted so many times this week, late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, women belong in all places where decisions are being made, all places where decisions are being made, and it shouldn't be that women are the exception in those spaces. Gender equality and women's rights are essential to getting through this pandemic together, to recovering faster and effectively, and to be building back a future for everyone. The status quo is not our aim. We don't want to go back to normal. We want to go to a new normal that looks fundamentally different. And every small action every small action we take needs to keep that in mind. We're not going back, we're going forward. Starts with because of you. This is the theme that the week has taken on. Trailblazers, activists, advocates, these people in our lives that continue to champion gender transformative movements. I mean, my path to activism, and I'd love to hear through your words, Cassandra, some of your path as well. But I came out of a deeply religious and conservative background where gender equality was not something we put in the front window. It was not something we talked about, and certainly there were many people around and surrounded me that would be fundamentally opposed to the concepts of gender equality as I see them now. And so my journey has really been through watching and listening and learning from people who believed fundamentally different things than the places I came from, and having to wrap myself into that new learning and see what fit and what worked on me, and to keep expanding and growing my inclusivity in my own heart for myself, but also for others. And I think when I hear about stories around the globe in communities in Canada where there is hate and kind of an allergy to inclusivity and to gender equality, that resonates in a really deep place with me, because that's how that's what I saw around me as the dominant norm. And so I really stand in solidarity with all the fighters who are going through that personal transformation at the same time standing up for their new sets of beliefs. And I sit and stand in the hope that in fact we can all make those personal transitions. There is no one on this planet that does not have the ability to change, and our job as gender equality advocates is to find inroads into those conversations and create the space and the enabling environment for people to come into their best selves and their true selves. So we have Beijing Plus 25. This was supposed to be a big year where we are going to come together, feminists of the world, gender equality advocates of the world, and celebrate 25 years of progress and what still needs to be done in Mexico, in Paris, and we haven't been able to come together in spirit. And so we're talking about the ways in which we can communicate out the messages and also gain the solidarity to really propel those principles in the Beijing Declaration signed 25 years ago forward. Canada is leading, along with the Netherlands and Ethiopia, civil society and youth groups, the Action Coalition on Feminist Movements and Leadership. Really excited to see how that unravels and unfolds, and think about the way in which we can propel and create space for feminist movements and leadership, because it's a lot more fun to be part of a movement with others all alongside you and beside you than it is to be championing this work on your own. So how can we create those conditions? So as we wrap up, we have the great fortune to have Cassandra Myers with us. She's going to share a few of her spoken word pieces. I personally am a huge fan and follower of all things spoken word, and I'm really grateful that you're with us today, Cassandra, to wrap up what's been an amazing week. So a little bit about Cassandra, and I hope we hear more through her words as well. She's a queer, trans, Crip, Mad, South Asian Italian from Toronto, Ontario. She's performed her award-winning poetry across Turtle Island in North America and has received the Best Poet Award from CUPS. A Master's of Social Work candidate at York University, Cassandra is an arts educator, crisis intervention counselor, and youth worker. A Pink Door Fellow, her work can be found in Overhead Press, the Shoreline Review, and ARC's Magazine Poem of the Year Honorable Mention. So with that, Cassandra, my gratitude, and I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, Julia, for inviting me into this space that's doing like such radical and necessary work. as someone who is a social worker who has operated sexual assault support lines for many years and is continuing to work in the field of sexual violence prevention, education, and repair, I am deeply invested in this movement that we've all been creating over the past week that you folks have been here, and also saddened that we couldn't all be in person, but so grateful for the opportunity for me to be able to bring my disabled body into this space. The poems I will be sharing today do talk about themes of sexual violence and sexual assault, so a content warning for folks. If you do need to take some time and step away for yourself to check in, to center, to, you know, self-soothe, I do encourage that. There's no need to push yourself and endure a narrative that may be too close to the surface for you at this moment. We'll also be doing some body movement in this set I have prepared for you today. And so when we are doing body movement, I encourage you to do within your access needs and within your bodily limitations and bodily beauty, whatever that may be, okay? So I'd like to get us started with this poem. This poem is called Just Say No. Rape, apologism, and precarious employment have lunch at a steakhouse and discuss my dismissal, or another employer tells me I need to learn to just say no. How can I have too much on my plate when I work through my lunch break, when I skip dinner on the way to my second, third, fourth job? If you paid me a livable wage, I could do the surviving part of being a survivor, the part where I feed myself and pay rent. Maybe then I could buy a lifetime supply of bath bombs to meet the workplace standards for self-care and use the rest to flood my abuser's apartment with glittering red. I have said no to work before and ended up saying yes to keep myself alive. I have said no to sex before and ended up saying yes to keep myself alive. I say no to the party because some abusers like to dance and miss my favorite song. I say no to the protest because some abusers safety marshal the movement and miss out on being a panelist. I say no to the poetry slam because some abusers make final stage or come to every show and I miss out on making the team or the title or the tour. I say no to the subway because some abusers don't drive and I'm late for my shift again. I say no and still get stuck with the bill. For spike key rings, litmus nail polish, bad date escape taxis, 3 years of therapy, I confronted each of my abusers and the only thing they offered were their condolences. Workplace insurance does not cover rape counseling unless it happened at work. Almost like classism TM and rape culture TM are part of the same conglomerate getting tax breaks from the government. I make 75 cents to my abuser's dollar and can't afford to take them to court. Capitalism profiting off of rape culture, profiting off of my calloused flesh. Sexual violence, history's most lucrative business. Patriarchy, the ultimate pyramid scheme. I want to crush its every ancient brick. But it employs me to support survivors, to educate on consent, to research trauma, to host writing workshops on survival. How can I say no when quitting my job means closing the crisis line? How can I say no when rape culture doesn't take a day off? So I will plan my attack at night. I call upon all the good men in their best suits and time's up pins to meet me at the chain-linked fence wrapped around a world without rape. Come with your platinum credit cards, a pair of pliers, sharp teeth, consent education, justice, and if all else fails, a bulldozer and a blowtorch. Tell me it's not possible in our lifetime, and I will build a new refuge on a far-off planet and take all your business with me. Fire me and watch all I built for you burn. But when you beg for me back, I'll say, no. Yeah, okay, thank you folks so much for sticking with me through that. Might be some tricky subject matter for some folks, but I think it's essential that when we talk about rape culture, we're also talking about rape capitalism and how the world profits off of our experiences of violence, profits off of our trauma. And that just needs to stop, like dead in the dirt. Like we cannot make our way through this without reinventing, without demolishing capitalism and also carceral systems that do not give us real experiences of justice. and target specific communities that haven't had justice for as long as they've been brought to this soil, and also for time immemorial that they've been on this soil since interaction with colonists. So this next poem is an opportunity for us to shake out some of that experience of trauma in our body that may have been building up over generations, has been a collective trauma, a historical trauma. I'm a sexual violence counselor, but also I'm interested in somatics and trauma-informed practice. And what that tells us is that when a deer, for example, is caught in the headlights of a car, and the car swerves at the last second, the deer is frozen in place, but then they shift off into the forest and they go and find their herd, and together the deer and everyone in their herd, they shake their bodies. And in that process of shaking, they're actually able to release the neoepinephrine and norepinephrine, that's the stress chemicals that is built up in our muscles to try to protect us and keep us safe. But the problem is with humans is that there's no place for us to shake. We can't have these open and honest dialogues about consent and sexual violence without feeling worries about repercussions or ongoing or continual violence or invalidation. So this is an opportunity for you to move your body and however feels good to you. You can follow along with me in how I'm moving my body if that helps for you. But I encourage you to enact the way that feels most natural and most needed for you in this moment, okay? So this poem is called The Big Shake, after that experience of somatic release. It begins at the neck. Roll yourself into a sunrise, and then a sunset, then the shoulders. Let them fall like a cherry blossom, slow and full of relief. Now shake like there are marbles in your ankles and pebbles in your wrist. Shake your legs like wind chimes in a hurricane, electric choir of steel and survival and sticky strength, all stretched bubblegum, pink twirled around your torso. Shake free, shake far, into the woods. Your family is waiting. Every girl is Bambi when boys are raised to hunt. Every body has been caught in the headlights of someone's unrelenting desire. Us spring fawns, born with keys between the knuckles of our skulls, antlers sprouting from your tender crown. We stand tail to tail because we have each other's backs, protected in the herd of not today and not ever again. Everyone is welcome to the pack of those who need to be sheltered. No one's pain is too great, too small to be rejected from the chance to burst into a cloud of monarch butterflies, fluttering and set free with the feeling of being seen. Uncage the fear, clattering in the wishing well of your gut, cursed gold coins, currency of your stolen breath. No more biting down on our oil-slicked memories, on our pillows and our own palms. We shake, quake, quiver, cry, crack at the marrow, the soft place where your anger swarms. Flood the forest with our grief, stampede the mountain of apologists into pine needles, hoofs itching for a safe place, one we made for ourselves when no one else would. Run, rest, repeat, 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 until your red hot muscles are emptied of their coals, ready to be filled with honey steeped teeth, with lavender bath, with coconut oil, with your best friend's laughter, with the only real kind of love. Yeah, thank you so much again, folks, for following along. I hope you keep employing self-massage. I have one short poem, Julia, if that's okay, just to close us out. This poem is after Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, also a feminist. Mary Oliver wrote a poem called Wild Geese, and I highly recommend that folks read it. It saved my life on multiple occasions. So this poem is called After Mary Oliver. And I will read it. This is a little snippet from that poem, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And this is what I have to say in response. You do not have to be good. Child with goody two-shoes gum smacked into their signature. Overachiever with a textbook for a spine. Steward of the bake sale and book club and babysitter's sitter. You do not have to walk on your knees. A letter grade is not a god you should kneel to. No crush's approval is a pill worth dry swallowing. Promises aren't made to be mountains climbed by the pinkies for 100 miles through the desert repenting. Even if you have cacti for a skeleton, you still deserve to be watered. Rest is a human right, your bones' nightly prayer. The sun sets in protest of progress to protect your innate glow. You only have to let the soft animal of your body be 11, be 12 years old, be 13, be 14, be sticky and without sacrifice, be tomboy, be girly girl, be everything else in between and off the charts, be silly, be lonely, be moody, be messy, be a creature who loves what it loves. You do not have to be anything at all. You do not have to change the world. Not now, not ever, and certainly not alone. You were not made to be a product, to produce. Your life is not a project. Your worth should never be given a dollar sign. If you belong to a family of things, if you belong to the dirt, every creature's final mother, you should not have to sell yourself to take up space. Being born is your only entry fee. Being kept is never something that you have to earn. Scarcity is a lie. There is enough for everyone on this beautiful rock. You do not have to convince a single living thing that you are allowed to belong. You just are. Repeat after me. I am enough because I say so. I am enough because I was born. I do not have to be good. I do not have to be good. I do not have to be good. And that's all I have for today. I hope that you folks can find some landing place. Thank you so much, Julia, for inviting me into your space. And if you need to contact me or just want to hear more of my work, you can follow me at MyersCass on Instagram. Thank you all so much.
Cassandra, what a gift you've given us to close our week. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you. I have nothing left to say because that said it all so beautifully, and I think so many of the themes, so many of the arcs of the struggle were captured in your 3 works. So I invite everyone to follow Cassandra. I invite everyone to grab that last poem and keep it on a loop when you need it to fill you up. Thank you for being here, Cassandra. Thank you to everyone else for being here and for listening and for being on this journey alongside CanWaCH and alongside the movement and the struggle across the globe. Goodbye, everyone.